Kurt, good to see you again, my friend.
Always a pleasure, my bud.
What brings you down here to Houston this time?
Well, my new company is based in Houston, and I'm also here for this conference, which I think is one of the hidden gem of conferences. It's about my world, digital and robotic.
You have been busy over the last 5 to 7 years, and I think last time we chatted on the phone, you had to explain to me why your wife was like, Kurt, what are you doing again? You've just hit a whole bunch of home runs from a technological perspective and obviously business-wise.
Thank you.
So you helped get Verb into the J&J entity and helped with that transaction and artfully did that. And then before that, you had a wonderful transaction.
SurgiQuest, yeah, that was awesome.
Yep, SurgiQuest was really nice, and that was a Connecticut-born company too.
Yeah.
Right, which takes you back to your U.S. surgical days with Leon, and you were there for 20 years?
21, yeah.
21.
Yeah.
And we'll go back to the alumnus out of U.S. Surgical. So tell me about Kluberst, about that transaction and moving into that organization. You just came off of an amazing opportunity. So with our viewers, share.
Sure, yeah. I mean, so for me, it was a dream job. Verb was a dream job. I had a ton of fun working, with Google and J&J and developing really truly what the future of surgery could look like. And then as J&J acquired the JV, my next thing was, what do I do? Do I stay and focus in that area, or do I do what I'm good at, which is run startups? Mm-hmm. And this opportunity came up, Kluberst came up. I've been doing this for 40 years, and for the last 20 years, endoluminal surgery has been a dream that everybody talks about. And it's being done today, but it's being done at a what I would call a very early stage, or I would say very early stage. And this technology, this company, has a robotic platform that allows you to do endoluminal surgery. And to me, enabling, that word enabling, is very rare these days, right? If you look at it, it's to be able to be part of enablement of another procedure, another surgery methodology. It's a dream. I was blessed to be part of it at U.S. Surgical, minimal invasive surgery in late 80s, early 90s, and then robotics, and then now endoluminal. So it is really a dream come true again. So I'm lucky twice. Get to run Verb, and now I get to run the technology platform that I really believe in.
And it's still early stage with Kluberst, right?
Yes.
Conceptual stage or working prototypes. Where are we?
No, actually. So we're in a de novo study. As you know, the new ruling from FDA is that all robotic platforms have to go through a de novo approval, which requires you to have an indication for use, and you have to do a clinical trial with some follow-ups.
And it's interesting too is, so if I remember correctly, 83, 84 is when you started with U.S. Surgical. I remember I was in there with Leon in 87, 88, sitting in his office at the early days of it. And you headed up R&D back then, right?
Yeah.
So you're one of the few that came out of U.S. Surg on the R&D side and then moved up into that C role, serial CEO, but there were a number of other players. I mean, I think Dave Ranker and I went through the roster one day. I think there's an excess of 40 CEOs that came out of that original class of U.S. Surgical. Yeah. Why do you think that was?
First of all, we were blessed. I mean, to be part of, changing surgery. I remember the days where I was in the OR, talking to surgeons about how do we do something less invasively? How do you do this procedure that you do open through tiny little holes, with long instruments? Wow, who goes through? I mean, like, you are actually creating ways to do surgery differently, partnering with surgeons and being there with them. And I think the culture was that, like the culture of innovation, taking ownership and driving and leading. And Leon, I have to tell you, I mean, Leon. I mean, Leon held you accountable, man. You were, he wanted to know everything, and he wanted to report that day. And the best news with Leon was everything is not always going to go right, but as long as you're trying and he sees the passion in you and the progress, he will give you, a lot of support to get it done and get it done right.
And he created, or you and the team there created, the new way to release a product into the medical device industry, everything from engagement with the docs, training, the training classes, the infamous training classes that US Surgical put on. So that creates a culture. And do you feel that culture carrying through with your leadership style over the years?
Yeah, partnership. I call it the culture of partnership. The reason I go downstairs and I walk the halls downstairs, every surgeon that I see, we get a hug. Like, you know, we build something together. We were there at the foundational levels. And today, if you ask me what makes me unique, but style, it's about partnership. Like, I don't do things in vacuum. You know, one thing that Leon was awesome about was customer first, right? You know, technology, he's got to be solid, but the customer's got to, you know, buy in, and you got to bring him, and also start them from the beginning, right? So a lot of companies go to the customer when it's too late. You know, you've already developed it, or you're too late. We were hand in hand doing it early stages, you know, and getting them involved. And when they're involved, there's that partnership, there's that ownership, and they give you a lot more passion about, you know, what they want and how to work with you on it. So I'm telling you, it was the most, I feel so blessed to be part of that. And the energy was, you know, I mean, you know, 21 years, I don't, it went by so quick, but it was foundation that I'm blessed to be part of.
And it had to be funny for you a little bit, because it's the stories are iconic about the Ethicon versus the U.S. Surgical.
Red and blue, yeah.
And the screaming matches and the fights that went on in the OR, like almost to blows. And you know, I've heard the story so many times, and
it was
and now
intense.
and then you went to J&J, right?
Yeah,
so
oh
that
my God.
that had to be a little bit of a ouch. I don't know. It's just me.
It was. I have to tell you, it was. But you know, that changed about, I would say, about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So the first 20 years was intense. I mean, we would go to congresses, and I mean, we would look at each other. I mean, they couldn't come close to your booth. You would go close to Ethicon booth, you get tackled. I mean, it was bad. You know, now people walk around, and you know, it's a lot more relaxed, and you know, there's been a lot of, you know, back and forth on changes and stuff like that. And I think that calmed down. So it wasn't as intense, to be honest, but it was weird.
Yeah.
You know, when I went to J&J headquarters in New Jersey, it was like, is this real? Am I really here? You know, like, so yeah, you're right. But you know, I have to say, I would always say they are first class.
Agreed.
You know, as far as, you know, the management, the team, they're just absolutely great people. But again, it's the culture thing, you know. So it was strange. It was really strange.
You and I sort of grew up in med tech alongside each other, and I remember the intensity back in the days. There was like this insane intensity, and you saw it with the surgeons, and you saw these surgeons who were really cared about their craft and really continued to elevate that bar. You know what I worry about today, I'm curious about your thoughts on it, is are we becoming more disconnected from the patient with this digital transition we're going through? Are we still setting as high as standards that were done in an analog fashion, and now do we get a little disconnected from the patient with the robot? Curious.
Yeah. No, I think I was mentioning this before. It is a little concerning. I agree with you. What's happening is that the people that I grew up with that set the bar from a standpoint of excellence in outcomes and the care of the patient and all that, they were a different class of people. They were clearly a different class of people, and the new surgeons that are coming in, they're a lot more digitally focused. And I would tell you, this is really interesting for you to hear. If you don't have a robotic program in certain hospitals and you can't recruit at all. It's like it's becoming a recruitment tool. So it's a shame to some level, to be honest, but it is what it is. You know, I just think that robotic, that trend is here to stay, and it's going to continue to grow. If you asked me that question 5 years ago, I would say it's still a trend, but now I think it's here to stay.
And I'm curious, because my philosophy on this is when you look at any sampling of great performers, you typically will have like this distribution curve, and for the most part, you know, this is where your team sits, but there's always these insane outliers on the fringes, and those are the individuals, the he's and she's, who set that standard that then drag everybody up here. So this transition going on from the classically trained surgeons who were truly artists but set the standard, and now does the digital world sort of mute that a little bit? I don't need you to answer it, but I think about that a lot.
But that's actually very true. So we did benchmark one procedure because it's the volume of the data that you got to look at to figure these things out is just enormous, right? But so we picked one procedure, and we did create this benchmarking information. And to your point, there was this like up here, and then there's this huge gap, and then the masses are here, and then you got the below the and that gap was really wide. And by the way, the guys in the middle are getting it done, right?
Yes,
which
absolutely.
is fine, but. I want
Here's
that guy.
the standard.
Yeah, I want that guy doing the surgery on me or
That's
my
right.
family, right?
That's
I
right.
want so how do you close that gap? And I think digital tools can help.
Yes.
From a standpoint of benchmarking, guidance. We talk about navigation. Excuse me, hey idiot, what are you? Why are you over there? You need to be over here. This is so those things are going to help. They're not now close, but they're going to be coming around.
Yeah.
But I do worry about what you're saying. It is really concerning. So and I think robotic. It also spoils folks as well. You get used to that, and so I just hope that there's new technology that's going to come that's just going to enhance the experience and the outcome.
Yeah, I agree, and one of the things too is Pablo Garcia Kilroy was chatting this morning, and boy, it hit me right in the head. He said, we're trying to communicate with everything, yet there's not a language that's been established yet that's agreed upon baseline. And when you talk about AI and you talk about AR and you talk about VR, everybody's got their own languages, and if you have all these languages on the fringes, but we don't have it established, how are we possibly going to talk to each other?
Yeah, Pablo and I found that out very early on. But I think you got to pick, you got to pick a story and stick to it and kind of build that standard. But you're right. At this time, it doesn't exist. It's everybody talking past each other and really not a cohesive way to go. I think we were talking about this before. I think there needs to be some way of collaborating. The masses collaborating to figure it out. Because if you're going to do this all in silos, we'll be here for many years. But I think if we put the resources together, I'm really hoping, and I think that's what I was very hopeful with J&J, really focusing on digital and putting a lot of effort there. How does that happen? Can you create that collaboration that could really change the game? So I'm hopeful. I think that's the only way. Otherwise, it's a huge lift. It's not about dollars. It's about, it's about just teamwork and bringing all the assets and making sense of it. And as you say, have a common, way to approach it.
The language, yeah. And if it was about money, J&J and Medtronic would have had a soft tissue robot already.
I know.
It's not about money. It's about culture. I go back to the early days with Leon.
Yeah.
And I go back, if we're going to talk about culture, and this is me talking about it, not you, if we're going to talk about culture, let's look at Intuitive from a culture. I mean, culture got that robot where it is today. I'm not saying that's the best robot or the worst robot. I'm saying it's a robot in the market. And so culture got that over the line. And I'm keeping my eyes on the companies whose cultures have been built on that mission-driven and are digital in nature.
Yeah, but you know that Intuitive had a lot of U.S. surgical guys.
Yes.
So
and that's what I mean by that culture. That was U.S. surgical 2.0.
Yeah.
Like this, for the sales force.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And operations.
And operations.
Yeah,
right.
so
who was it who went there?
Gus.
Gus went there.
As a matter of fact, he's working with me. I got him. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I'm blessed to.
And you got Dave Ranker too. I'll
Yeah,
talk to you about that after the show.
Sorry about that, man. Yeah, he was dying to get back into the game. So Dave and I have known each other for 40 years.
But Gus was there, and Jerry. Did Jerry go there as well?
Yeah. And Jerry's going to be coming helping us.
Oh, you're getting the band back together.
Damn right.
I love it.
Yeah. So the passion is there still, though. Yeah. What I love about it is, what we had is it never dies. It's like when they believe in a cause and they are just all in and engaged, and no mountains high enough, and we're all getting older. I mean, I thank God, I'm still healthy and I can continue to do this. But we got I got re-energized. I mean, and that's what you said. Talk about your wife talking about it. It's like, are you really serious? You're going to do another robotic company? I'm like, yes, I am. And it's like, yeah. I'm like,
That's your hobby. That and horseback riding.
yeah, don't go there, man. That's my peace. It's like the only thing that takes my mind out of
I see you up on the horses all the time.
Yeah, I love show jumping. That's my passion. Yeah, that's like.
And the family too.
Yes, of course. I'm blessed. This is one thing I'll tell you. I always say this. People say, well, what's the secret and what? And it's like, luck. I am blessed. Hard work and luck. Yeah. Because luck has a lot to do with it.
Sure.
Being part of U.S. Surgical and then, doing your own thing and being lucky to be successful. Can you imagine building a trocar in an industry that is the two giants own it? Like, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? But believe in the cause and then just building a team and a culture. And I'll tell you, to this day, that team and the culture we created, it's still there. I mean, I still get calls and everybody's like, when are we putting the band together? Like, when are you gonna do your next thing? And it was like a family. It was amazing. It was just, I hope to do it again one more time.
Well, we got Kluber, so
yeah,
keep
no,
our eyes on that.
I'm excited about it. Really excited about it.
Well, I know you're super busy, and I appreciate you coming, taking some time, and sitting with us.
Anytime, always a pleasure.
Always. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I'm Joe Mullings, SDTS Houston. Be well.